this is going to be my final statutory interpretation video, and it is going to be on the aids to interpretation. So judges can refer to materials inside and outside the act which can help them interpret the words in the act. Intrinsic aids are inside the act and extrinsic aids are outside the act. It's pretty simple really, or at least I find that easy to remember. Sort of intrinsic has the word in it, and then extrinsic's obviously outside. So the first thing we're going to look at are intrinsic aids, and the first one is title. So intrinsic aids are found within the act itself, and a judge can look at other parts of the act to interpret a particular word or section. The long and short titles of the act can be looked at or used as an aid. The long title of the Abortion Act 1967 is an act to amend and clarify the law relating to termination of pregnancy by registered medical practitioners. 4 out of 5 law lords who heard an appeal in the case of Royal College of Nursing of the United Kingdom and DHSS in 1981 referred to the long title. Another one of the intrinsic aids is preamble or purpose. Old legislation may contain a preamble, which is an introduction setting out the purpose of the act. Newer acts may contain an objectives or purposes section at the beginning of the act. This fits in with the mischief rule and the purposive approach. An example of this is the purposes section in the Climate Change and Sustainable Energy Act 2006, which states the purpose of this act is to enhance the United Kingdom's contribution to combating climate change. Another intrinsic aid is schedules. Some acts will include schedules which will be referred to in order to understand the act as a whole. Section 2, subsection 1 of the Hunting Act 2004 provides hunting is exempt if it is within a class specified in Schedule 1, and you can quite easily find out these classes specified in Schedule 1. We had homework to do on it and stuff. You quite literally just Google it and it comes up straight away. There's also the Data Protection Act 1998, which includes schedules detailing the 8 principles of data protection. Again, if you want to know that, you can look it up straight away. You'll find it really quickly. Another intrinsic aid is definition and punctuation. Many modern acts contain a definition section which explains the meaning of key words in the act. The Law Reform Year and a Day Rule Act 1996 states that a defendant can be guilty of a fatal offence where death follows more than a year and a day after the defendant's act or omission. Section 2, subsection 3 defines a fatal offence as basically murder, manslaughter, helping someone to commit suicide, anything that causes death really. Okay, so now we are on to the extrinsic aids. One of the extrinsic aids is dictionary, and that fits in well with the literal rule. So extrinsic aids are materials found outside the act which may be referred to by a judge. Dictionaries can be used to find the literal meanings of the word. For example, in Vaughan v. Vaughan in 1873, when interpreting the word molest, the judges consulted the dictionary, which included cause, trouble, vex, or annoy. The Court of Appeal held that the defendant pestering his wife to resume the relationship fell inside this definition. Another extrinsic aid is previous legislation. Previous Acts of Parliament may also be referred to by judges. An example of this is Wheatley in 1979, where the Court of Appeal had to interpret the provisions of the Explosive Substances Act in 1883. The long title of the Act was to amend the law relating to explosive substances, amending the Explosives Act 1875, so the Court of Appeal looked at the earlier Act in their interpretation because this is what was stated in the long title. There's also the Interpretation Act 1978, which is another extrinsic aid, and it provides definitions of certain words. For example, the masculine will include the feminine. So in laws, it always says him, but that also means her. Another extrinsic aid are law commission reports, which the law commission people write up. They wrote up a criminal attempt law in the 80s, like a report on criminal attempts. Another extrinsic aid is international treaties. For example, the Human Rights Act 1998 incorporates the ECHR into English law, and therefore the court will look at the ECHR. The ECHR is the European Convention of Human Rights. Since 1999, acts have been issued with explanatory notes. They're not part of an act itself, so they're also external aids. Textbooks are another extrinsic aid. For example, read Castione, 1891. He wrote a textbook, Criminal Law of England, and it was referred to when interpreting the words of political crime. The final extrinsic aid is Hansard, which is parliamentary debates in the House of Commons. This was used in the Pepper and Hart case in 1993, but to refer to Hansard, it has to have certain circumstances. The act must be ambiguous or obscure, or the literal interpretation would lead to an absurdity. Judges may only look at statements made by a minister or other promoter of the bill, which is basically MPs, and the statements must be clear in order for them to be relied upon. So that is it for statutory interpretation. Yay! See you in my next video. Bye! Thank you.